Hello everyone, happy Easter, and thanks for tuning in to today's second video on your Easter. Certainly hope you're having a lovely day. Certainly the weather is playing its part across many parts of the country. It's warm, dry and sunny here in Northampton. We may get some fuzzy showers though later on this afternoon, just to dampen things down a little bit. Of course, we're all in lockdown, so we can't enjoy the sunshine as we would normally do so, unless you've got a garden or something. I suppose I'm very lucky that I do have a garden, but I know a lot of people don't. And for those people that are stuck indoors with this lovely weather, at least you can open your windows and let a bit of fresh air in that way. But we can't enjoy the weather as we would normally do so. But nevertheless, we're going to try and keep you entertained at GWV over this Easter weekend. So the first video released today was the 5th Summer 2020 Analogues Update. That's looking at March precipitation data. Of course, we've got GWV Sunday Round-Up, which is going to be your usual eclectic mix of this and that. Looking at things like solar activity, sea surface temperature, anomalies, ENSO, Arctic oscillation, North Atlantic oscillation, and weather for the next week, 10 days and beyond. I'll get on that view very shortly. Just to say, at the end of the video, you'll see some charts of a winter from Patron over in the United States, part of NOAA. That'll be in the last few minutes of the video. And, of course, we're giving away the prize as well today. It's the final day of our competition. More about that at the end of the video too. But you've got a few more hours to enter the competition. At 5 o'clock this evening is when we will be closing the competition. And then the winner will be revealed in a video at 7 p.m. this evening. And there may well be a little special guest appearance perhaps from Mrs. Partridge. So that is all to come later on this evening. But before I do anything else, I've got to say a big thank you to our latest donor. So I've had another donation for GWV. So hello, and thank you very much to Harry Walker. Thank you, Harry Walker, for your donation for GWV. That is very, very kind of you to do that for GWV, my friend. Thank you so much for your donation, Harry. If you would like to become a donor for GWV, what you need to do is come to GWV's PayPal page. You sign into your PayPal account, and then give whatever donation you would like to GWV. And we're going to give you a mention in videos. We'll give you a shout out and say thank you so much for doing that, as long as you want one. A few people have chosen to stay anonymous, and that's absolutely fine. If they would like to do that, then it's not a problem at all. But otherwise, we will give you a mention in videos and we'll say thank you so much for doing that. And thank you, Harry, for your donation. Also, there's Patron as well, of course. So if you would like to have a patron of GWV, all you do is go to GWV's Patron page. You sign up for a Patron account. You don't already have one, and then give a monthly donation. It can be anything from $1 a month to GWV, and by doing that you become a patron for GWV. We've got 64 patrons so far. Hello, and a big thank you to our 64 patrons. I've got another patron to mention in a future video as well, a new patron. I'd like to give everybody their own individual video for their shout out. So our 64 patron will be announcing that person in a coming video. But a big thank you to all of our patrons, and a big thank you to all of our donors helping us to pay for GWV.com during the coronavirus crisis. We're all in lockdown. We're all having real concerns and issues about this terrible crisis. It's probably the biggest medical calamity that we've had for a century. And it's also a financial crisis as well. So I appreciate everybody is in a very bad situation at the moment. So please only donate if you can absolutely afford to do so. But we're going to keep going. GWV is going to keep recording, going to keep uploading. And hopefully we're going to keep entertaining you during this crisis. Just say no live stream today. We are going to be doing live streams every Wednesday and Sunday afternoons. I've already announced that. We've done a few of those already, but because we've got the competition to sort out, there's just not the time to do a live stream as well. So the next live stream is going to be on Wednesday between 4 and 5 o'clock, and then after about every Wednesday and Sunday, and the Sunday live streams between 5 and 6 o'clock. Right, so big thank you to all of our patrons, big thank you to all of our donors, and special thank you to the latest donor, Harry Walker. Thank you so much, Harry, for doing that. Right, so let's have a look at the latest observations from xcweather.co.uk. It's already very warm out there across more southern parts of the country. Look at this, we've got temperature already flashing away at 21 degrees there at Cherbourg. Much of the southeast is kind of upper teens already. This is from 10:38 this morning, so already we've got London City Airport at 18, for example, Norfolk at 16, Farnborough at 19 degrees as well, Stansted at 18 degrees. These temperatures are going to rise up further through the day. I think we could well peak again in the far southeast at around 25, 77 Fahrenheit. But look how much cooler it is further north. So we've got 5 degrees, only 5 degrees down in the Republic of Ireland. Moore Park and Cork are only at 5 degrees down there, so I mean it's like winter over in the Republic. But going further north into Northern Ireland, I mean it's pretty cold there. Lockfee at 7 degrees, Belfast at 9. Moving over to Scotland, we've got Strathallan at 8 degrees, Lossiemouth at just 9 degrees, out to Hara at just 9 degrees, Wick at just 7 degrees, Kirkwell in the Northern Isles, they're just at 7 degrees, and so on. So clearly it is much cooler up in the north, even colder, much colder up in the north. Very warm down in the south and the southeast. There's a big temperature contrast, big gradient. That could trigger off some heavy showers and downpours this afternoon. You may hear a rumble of thunder. We'll get a bit of hail in those showers this afternoon. And then tomorrow, overnight and into tomorrow, these cool temperatures, or cold temperatures that go in the north, they're going to flood southeastwards. So down in the southeast tomorrow, we're going to have something like a 10-degree temperature drop. We've got a maximum today of around 25. Tomorrow, probably not much better than around 15, which is actually about average for like the middle of April. 15 degrees in the southeast means it's about what you'd expect for a maximum temperature in the southeast in the middle of April, but of course it's going to be a big shock to the system after so much warmth over the past few days, and with a strong northeasterly wind blowing, especially through the morning, you really will feel the difference down in the south and the southeast. After that, temperatures will start to recover a bit through to the middle part of the week, but watch out for damaging frost on Monday night into Tuesday morning. Got any delicate plants out, cover them up, and also cover up your fruit blossom, because there could well be a very damaging frost on Monday night, Tuesday morning. Right, so let's move on and have a look at sea surface temperature anomalies. So this is how the sea surface temperature anomalies were looking at last week's GWV Sunday Round-Up. We've got 3 areas of interest. We've got the equatorial Pacific Ocean just here, the ENSO region, got the Northern Pacific over there, and we've got the Northern Atlantic over here. That's how things were shaping up when we did last week's GWV Sunday Round-Up. Let's have a look at the very latest. Here they are. So in the ENSO region, very little change. Again, another week has gone by with very little change. We remain around ENSO neutral, on the warm side of ENSO neutral, but yes, we're pretty much at ENSO neutral, so no changes there. Going further north into the Northern Pacific Ocean, again, let's go back to last week, that situation last week, this situation now. Again, very little change. It's possibly got a little bit warmer through here, but we're still holding on to these colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies around there. So again, very little change in the Northern Pacific. And then over in the Atlantic, where you can guess, I think, what I'm about to say, again, very little change in the North Atlantic. So the tropical Atlantic down here remains significantly warmer than average, especially so around Cape Verde. And of course, if that carries on into the summer, that could get quite interesting from a tropical storm and hurricane perspective. We've also got much warmer than average sea surface temperature anomalies in the Gulf of Mexico. So again, if that carries on into the summer, then that's likely to give some impact to southern parts of the states via tropical storms and hurricanes. Still very early days for this, though. I mean, the Gulf of Mexico is a relatively shallow sea, actually, so that could well cool down. These deeper waters in the tropical Atlantic, they change on a much slower sort of basis. So I would suspect we probably keep things quite warm in the tropical Atlantic through to the summer. This area just here might stay very warm. It could cool down. We'll have to wait and see. And then over into the northern part of the Atlantic up here, where we still have the cold of an average area of sea surface temperature anomalies just there. The cold blob continues in the North Atlantic. That's indicative, of course, of the positive NAO. Excuse me, that's indicative of the positive NAO that we have and have had over the past few weeks and months through the winter of 2019-20. Everything very stable at the moment with the sea surface temperature anomalies. This is the SOI, Southern Oscillation Index from Queensland Government, part of Bureau of Meteorology in Australia. The SOI is an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state in the Southern Ocean. Not driving anything, just tells what the atmosphere is doing. When the SOI is in its positive phase, then the atmospheric state is going to be reflective of La Nina. When the SOI is in its negative phase, the atmospheric state will be reflective of El Nino. Moving down to the latest day returns. Well, the early part of April did have some very negative numbers for the SOI. So, for example, we have the 2nd of April just here going down to -10, and the 3rd of April going down to -16. The 6th of April goes down to -10. 7th of April goes down to -8. That's all reflective of an El Nino type atmospheric state. More recent days, in the past week, we see the 8th of April swinging into positive territory, plus 6.63. 9th of April, plus 1.44. 11th of April, plus 5. And very positive for the most recent day. This is 12th of April, ahead of us in Australia, of course. So we've already had Easter Sunday, plus 15.50. A very positive number. Atmospheric state is currently, today, in a La Nina type setup. When we're trading negativity and positivity of the SOI like this, and remember, it's just measuring the air pressures between Tahiti in that column and Darwin in that column. It is preliminary, but they don't change very much. But when we're trading these negative and positive numbers for the SY like this, typically we stick around ENSO neutral, and that's where we are right now. Of course, a 30-day SOI average did do a bit of a crash at the end of March. That's where it was around the middle of March up there. That's where it was by the end of March down there. So quite a crash in the SOI. It tells us that we did go through quite a negative week or two of SOI numbers. That crash has been arrested, and actually we are currently around there, so we're currently sort of flatlining at a weekly negative type level. If we were to see more days like the 12th of April at plus 15 with the SOI, then the 30-day average would start to come up quite a lot. So ENSO neutral continues at the moment. CFSV2 is still forecasting that we're likely to go into a La Nina through the summer. So I've got our temperature anomalies here along the side. Dates in monthly periods are along the bottom of the chart. All important numbers are 0.5, whether that's above for El Nino or below for La Nina. You have to be half a degree above or below average to either be in an El Nino or a La Nina, and to run that over 5 tri-monthly periods. Where we are right now is just there, so we're on the warm side of ENSO neutral, just about managing to get into borderline El Nino type territory. Look at the black dash line, that's the ensemble mean. That starts moving down pretty much from now onwards. It starts to edge downwards by July. We're just there. We're around half a degree below average, reaching La Nina type thresholds, and then beyond that we see the ensemble mean continue to drop down, so that by the autumn, this is October through to the end of the year, by then the ensemble mean is still sort of somewhere between a weak La Nina, a weak cold event, and a moderate La Nina. So we're somewhere close to a moderate La Nina by the time we get through to the end of the year. CF has been very, very consistent about this. There's very little sign, actually, in terms of sea surface temperature anomalies at the moment. There's very little sign of La Nina at the moment, but the CFS has been really consistent about this over the past few months. So we shall see if the CFS has got this right. It was the first model to pick it up. Other models are beginning to go in this direction as well, but the CFS was the first model to pick this up way back around January, I think. So if the CFS has got this right, and we do go into a La Nina through this summer, then it will be hats off to the CFS. I do give quite a lot of criticism to the CFS a lot of the time, but if it's got this right, then it will be well done to the CFS V2. This is how things looked at this point in 2007. So, of course, we've been a little bit concerned about the idea of going into a La Nina, a rapid switch to La Nina, and quite a strong La Nina in the summer could be bad news for the summer, because a lot of our worst summers, such as 2007, which was a tremendously wet and, just a cold, wet summer, a lot of those sort of seem to coincide with a transition into La Nina, but it has to be a rapid transition into quite a strong La Nina, and that's exactly what was happening at this point in 2007. Look at the sea surface temperature anomalies here. This is from the 13th of April 2007. Look how strong the La Nina signal already was at this point in 2007. I mean, you can clearly see that's going into quite a strong, moderate anyway, and quite strong La Nina type event. And generally, the Pacific Ocean is in a much colder state as well in 2007, both sort of to the south across the southern Pacific Ocean, and also in the northern part of the Pacific Ocean as well. So generally, the Pacific Ocean was a lot colder at this point in 2007 than it is right now. And that, of course, I'm sure that aided the development of the La Nina, which was a rapid development through the spring of 2007. And by the summer, it's actually up to quite a moderate sort of event already, and that coincided, of course, with the phenomenally wet and miserable summer of 2007. Look at the difference. Generally, the Pacific is a lot colder. It's a lot warmer this year. It's a lot colder in 2007 overall, and clearly the ENSO region was also in a much colder state at this point in 2007. So I wouldn't necessarily be too worried about the fate of the coming summer. It's all to be determined, I think, if, again, we might see a very rapid transition through the remainder of this spring. We're only halfway through the spring, so we might see a very rapid transition to La Nina through the remainder of this spring. If we do, then that will be bad news for the summer. But conversely, we might have a very, very slow and gradual move towards a weak La Nina. If that happens, then it will probably have very little effect at all on the summer. So it's all to be revealed, it's all to play for, and I wouldn't necessarily be too worried about the summer of 2020 at this point. That could change, of course, in the coming weeks, so we'll be keeping you updated. So activity, so I haven't got any solar trackers today, but we have got solar disc on our side of this day from solarham.net. We are spotless at the moment today, no sunspots visible. And so therefore, solar activity is at very low levels and is expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days. And of course, this is indicative of what I expect to happen with solar minimum. This is how things are shaping up in terms of Arctic sea ice extent. This is from National Snow and Ice Data Centre. So, again, we're dropping with the Arctic sea ice extent at the moment. This blue line is Arctic sea ice extent for 2020. We was doing quite well back in the winter. We was up here. That's where we are right now, though. The past week or two, we have seen quite a significant drop in Arctic sea ice extent. So, although we did see increased Arctic size through the winter, it was all very thin and flimsy, I suppose, and now it's beginning to warm up as we go into spring in the Arctic. A lot of it is sort of in danger of melting, and I think that is what's going on there. It was all very thin and flimsy ice that formed with the cold winter that they had in the Arctic. And now going into the spring, a lot of that very thin ice is melting. Let's have a look at our long-term averages. So this is 2011 to 2019. We've actually got a little bit under the 2011 to 2019 average. For most of the winter, we was quite a bit above that, but now we're slightly under the 2011-2019 average. The 2001 to 2010 average, which we was on parity with through much of the winter, that's this black line just here. We was on parity with the 2001 to 2010 average through most of the winter. We are well under that now, down just there. That's 1991 to 2000. We was never close to 1991 to 2000 Arctic size extent average, and of course we was never anywhere near the 1979 to 1990 average either. So a little bit of a crash of Arctic sea ice is currently taking place. Very early days for melt season, though. We won't see the bottoming out of the melt season until like into the end of August or the beginning of September. So a long, long way to go on that one. The development of the eclectic continues. This is from NASA, so where we've got the sandy brown areas, that's where we've got the westerly QBO, where we've got the blue areas, that's where we've got the easterly QBO. We're looking to get those blue, that blue area down to 30 HPA, this line just here, that's the boundary of the stratosphere to the troposphere. You can think this like the top of the atmosphere in the strat. That's down on the surface where we're all walking around. So we're looking to get those blue areas, which are the eclectic, down to the 30 HPA boundary level. Been a real struggle, this easterly QBO. You can see how these blue colours have been kept up in the top levels of the atmosphere, but increasingly between 30 and 50 HPA, we see that the blue and green colours are strengthening. And these raggedy brown areas just here, sandy coloured areas, which have been the continuation of Westerly QBO, notice how they are kind of fizzling away, really. So they're getting ever weaker. If we close in a bit, you can see how these raggedy sort of brown areas are just fading away. Notice how sort of frequent they are just there, but now just here, very, very, very raggedy, and not many of them really. I think the Westerly QBO is kind of being killed both from above and from below, actually, and we're going to go into, well, we are in the eclectic already, but we're going to see the eclectic strengthening, I think, very shortly now. We will strengthen the easterly QBO and really go into the easy phase of the quasi-biennial oscillation as we get into the summer and then on into the autumn, where we have a strong and mature easterly QBO. The coming winter will be a strong easterly QBO winter, a mature easterly QBO winter. May, as winter progresses of 2020-2021, begin to fade back towards Westerly QBO, but I don't think Westerly QBO will begin until after the coming winter. So the coming winter should definitely be a strong easterly QBO winter. Remember, the QBO is measuring the strength of the zonal westerlies. When you're in an easterly QBO, you weaken the zonal westerlies. When you're in a westerly QBO, you strengthen the zonal westerlies. So an easterly QBO has an increased chance, doesn't guarantee anything, but it does have an increased chance of a weaker westerly zonal flow and being a colder winter, if you like. So it's not a guarantee of anything, but some of our cold winters do occur with eeclectic QBOs. But on the other hand, a lot of mild winters occur with eeclectic QBOs as well. Nothing is ever straightforward when it comes to the UK's weather, particularly in winter, when we are attacked both from the west, from the Atlantic, of course, and also from the east at times as well. We're in that sort of strange battleground between west and east. Right, as Arctic oscillation observed and forecast looks like this. So the black line shows where we've been with the Arctic oscillation. Red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic oscillation to go. We have been in a very prolonged positive phase of the Arctic oscillation over the past few months. The winter of 2019-20 was a record-breakingly strong positive AO winter, especially in January and again in February. We're still positive with the AO right now. It still hasn't run out of steam, this positive Arctic oscillation phase, although it's nowhere near as positive as it was back in the winter. But we're still on the positive side with the AO. And actually over next week, the GFS ensembles, which are the red lines at the end, they're forecasting the Arctic oscillation to strengthen even further. Yes, it just goes on for the next week or so. However, as you come towards the latter stages of April, the GFS ensembles are now showing possibly quite a drop in the Arctic oscillation, maybe the first signs of a negative phase of the AO during the latter part of April, for the first time since the second half of December, just here. Possibly that is the case. Although, of course, it's all extended range stuff within the GFS and its ensembles. So, just remains to be seen what's going to happen over the next week or two, but we could be starting to see just the first hints, anyway, of some northern blocking beginning to set up. Of course, the Arctic Oscillation is an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. When the AO is positive, you've got low pressure over the Arctic, but when the Arctic Oscillation is negative, you have high pressure blocking over the Arctic. That could be the first hints of some blocking beginning to start getting going by the latter part of April. We shall have to wait and see about that. The NAO looks like this. So again, been a prolonged positive phase of the NAO going back into the winter, although more recently the NAO has been in its negative phase just here. So the GFS ensembles are forecasting that the NAO is going to go positive as well over the next week. But after that, again, quite a lot of scatter, but more ensemble members going back towards negative late in April. So could we be seeing the first signs of a really fundamental shift of the pattern, both in terms of what's happening in the North Atlantic and in terms of what's happening in the Arctic? Could we be starting to see a much more blocked pattern beginning to emerge by the end of April? If we do, then that could lead us into a rather colder and wetter setup by the very end of the month and possibly into the beginning of May. That will be something to keep an eye on potentially for May. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles the next couple of weeks. We're at Huddersfield today. If you'd like to have your local town or city featured within this section of video, then all you need to do is ask us via our social media accounts or email us at gazweathervids@gmail.com, and we're very happy to feature your local town or city within this part of the video. So the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Huddersfield. We're starting off quite substantially above average at the moment. It's still pretty warm today, but temperatures will be dropping over the next 24 hours or so, but only very briefly, and then through much of next week actually it's quite warm again. Temperatures take off and become quite warm through much of next week into the last week of April. That's this period just here, which is when the AO and the NAO look like they're starting to both trend more towards the negative side. By that point, we do see signs that the upper air temperatures are lowering. Upper air temperatures are beginning to cool down. Again, could that be the first signs that we're going to something a little bit colder and wetter for the very end of April and beginning of May? Precipitation-wise, a lot of dry weather to come. So, have got a chance of some heavy showers this afternoon, as I explained. With the temperature contrast, we've got north-south cross country today. That could trigger off some thundery showers. After that, loads of dry weather into the second half of next week. But beyond that, maybe a bit more unsettled sort of end of this coming week into next weekend. And early the following week after that goes relatively dry. Once again, overall that's a pretty dry ensemble though. Temperature anomalies from the 12th to the 20th of April, very close to average, which may be a bit surprising given this upper air temperature graph is significantly above average for the next week to 10 days. But this does encompass the chance of some couple of very cold nights, and especially so on Monday night to Tuesday. So we could have an unusually cold night actually with a damaging frost, unusually cold middle of April, on Monday night, and that could do a lot of damage to delicate plants and to fruit blossom. And this anomaly will be taking that into account. It's taking into account both day and night temperatures. So I will think the reason this is probably a little bit cooler than you might expect, given the upper air temperatures, is due to a couple of cold nights, a particularly cold night on Monday night and through to Tuesday morning. Precipitation-wise, lots of dry weather, especially for more northern parts of the country. Look what's happening in America. It's gone really cold over there in the States. The temperature anomaly for America from the 12th to 20th of April is substantially below average pretty much everywhere, except on this extreme western Pacific coast of America. It is warmer there, but otherwise it's a cold scene across much of the states, although Florida, I suppose, does stand out as being a little bit warmer there. And the precipitation anomaly varying from state to state. It looks generally drier towards the northwest and the west, perhaps a little bit wetter across more southern and eastern states. Coming back home, this is how the GFS is looking for Wednesday. It's a midnight run of the GFS. Of course, the 6 o'clock run is updating as we're speaking, but we haven't got enough time to be able to bring you the 6 o'clock run now. So midnight run of the GFS, high pressure centred over top of the country Wednesday, back to dry and warm conditions by the middle of the week. That high pressure then eases away as we go towards the end of the week. Some low pressure could start to come up from the southwest, maybe bringing some showers and longer spells of rain into the southwest. Next weekend is still more or less dominated by high pressure, so any rain that comes into the far south and southwest around Thursday, Friday will then move back into the Atlantic over the coming weekend. High pressure takes over across Scandinavia, winds turn into the east, lots of dry weather, and temperatures probably lower a little bit with these easterly winds, especially for more eastern parts of the country. Heading up towards day 10, we keep lots of high pressure going. The high pressure eventually is moving its way towards Iceland and Greenland. So starting to hint at becoming a bit of a northern blocking type feature. Winds are still in from the east and probably dragging in quite a lot of cloud and cooler temperatures into more eastern parts of the country then. Into the more extended range with a midnight GFS run, that's how we look. So high pressure continues to rule the roost really until the latter stages of the month. The high pressure is edging ever further northwards and westwards. So as far as we can go to the 28th of April, by which time we are having a go at turning the wind into the north. So we might be starting to bring some colder air down from the north by the very end of the month. But really it's a high pressure that's the main story, keeping things mostly dry and settled. GM looks like that. Wednesday quite dry and warm across much of the country. Into the second half of the week again, we keep that high pressure dominating the weather scene. The coming weekend is also dominated by high pressure. It really is a case of high and dry right the way through to day 10 actually with the GM. Look at this, high pressure just continuing to dominate. Again, it's an increasing northern blocking type signal as the high pressure is edging ever further northwards and westwards by day 10. It is starting to look as though, anyway, it's going to try and get itself to Greenland. And by this point, we're probably bringing some cooler winds from the northeast. But the main storyline, again, really dry conditions continuing up to day 10, really. And the ECM, again, looks like that. High pressure brings dry and warm weather for Wednesday into the middle part of the week. And the second half of the week, we could have some showers threatening the southwest from this low pressure. It's down towards the Bay of Biscay and Portugal. However, really, it's a high pressure that's still in control. And into the coming weekend, again, lots of dry weather. Maybe a bit showery up this western side by Sunday. This is a week's time, Sunday 19th of April. Could be a bit showery up the western side, but otherwise, most places are looking fairly dry. And then up towards day 10, that's how we look. And still, really, it's an anticyclonic signal, albeit the high pressure is going further northwards with time. The high pressure now, I mean, this is proper northern blocking, actually. High pressure up towards Svalbard. And we're trying to raise heights over towards Greenland as well. So could this all be setting up a cold and wet end to April and beginning to May? It's too early to say, but I think probably do need to watch this space and see where this is going. No ECO ensembles either, because they won't be updating for a little while either. So we'll move on to the CFS V2. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 12th through to the 18th of April. The coming week is going to be dominated by high pressure, bringing lots of dry, fine and warm weather. Week 2, CFS also has high pressure in control. This is the 19th to the 25th of April. High pressure sits over and just to the east of the country. Winds are in from a southeasterly direction, mainly dry and quite warm then. Moving through to week 3, quite a significant change from week 2 to week 3. This is the 26th of April to the 2nd of May. All of a sudden, a trough of below average heights, low pressure is appearing across Western Europe, and we're raising the heights a bit up towards Iceland. So this is that change we've been talking about through this video. Possibly a colder and wetter spell of weather setting up for the closing days of April and into the start of May. However, not for long. This is week 4. It's the 3rd to the 9th of May. The above average heights then develop out to the west and southwest, also to the north. Low pressures push back towards Greenland. Jet streams rising northwards as well. So that should be turning drier and warmer as we go from the 3rd through to the 9th of May. May itself is looking like this with a CFS V2 today. This 700 millibar height anomaly for May 2020 from a CFS V2. Anticyclonic signal more over and to the south of the country. Low pressure is up to the north. That should bring a reasonable amount of dry and quite warmish weather, you would have thought. Temperature anomalies for May 2020 are a little bit above average, so relatively warm and high pressure dominated month being forecast there. No particular signal for precipitation, but obviously you would expect a relatively dry month, especially to the south with high pressure close by. And then lastly, I did promise you we'd have a look at the analogues from Patron for the coming winter 2020-2021. Now this is just for fun, just to have a laugh at. We've looked at this over the past couple of months in GWV Sunday Round-Up. You remember a couple of months ago Patron was going for northern blocking and a cold winter for the winter of 2020-2021. Patron is basing his forecast on sea surface temperature anomalies, by the way. So Patron looks at sea surface temperature anomalies, in this case last month, back in March, and then compares that to past years with similar sea surface temperature anomalies, and makes a 200 millibar height anomaly forecast based on those sea surface temperature anomalies. So this is the latest 200 millibar height anomaly. Actually, I think we need to zoom out a little bit. I think we're a bit too close. This is the latest 200 millibar height anomaly from Patron, who is working as part of NOAA for the winter of 2020-21. This is ultra long range forecasting, real cutting edge stuff, and going not so much northern blocking actually this time, going for more of a mid-Atlantic ridge. High pressure in the middle of the North Atlantic, extending to some degree though towards the northern latitudes. There's quite a blocking signal over here towards Svalbard and northern Scandinavia. We have got low pressure across Spain and sort of southern parts of Europe. So it's very close to being cold actually back for the winter. It's very close to still be bringing in the wind from an east to northeasterly direction. The 200 millibar height anomaly for January, February, March 2021 does actually get to northern blocking. Then the heights go up to Greenland and extend over to Scandinavia, and that would of course allow the wind to pull in from the east with low pressure to the south. So it's just a little bit delayed in the northern blocking, but eventually it does get there. Patron's analogues are still pointing in that sort of direction. And still going for a cold European winter, so this is a temperature anomaly for 2020-21, winter 2020-21. Cold and average now across Spain, cold and average through most of Central Europe, just there. Actually the UK, we're on the periphery as we always are, so we're somewhere between above and below average, but we are very close to those cold temperature anomalies across Central Europe. And for January, February, March, also looking rather cold, especially down towards Spain, and still quite chilly really through central parts of Europe. I think Patron's analogues are still broadly going in the direction they have been over the past couple of weeks, which is suggesting the chance, anyway, only a chance of something a little bit colder for 2020, 2021. But do bear in mind, I mean, we're talking about around 9 months away, so this is really just for fun. It's pushing the boundaries, and I shouldn't really be showing you this, to be honest, but I've been thinking, why not sort of monitor these analogues over the next few months with GWV Sunday Round-Up and just see how they progress. Now, the last thing I'm going to tell you before we go is about competition. So, we have teamed up with metcheck.co.uk weather instrumentation. We are giving away the Climate CM7015 wireless rain gauge. It retails at £59.50. Somebody is going to win this rain gauge tonight. The winner will be announced at 7 p.m. So, 5 p.m. we're going to close the competition. We're going to put everybody's names into the bag, and then somebody's name will be drawn out of the bag. That person is definitely 100%, no doubt about it, going to win the wireless rain gauge. You've got to be in it to win it. So to have a chance of winning this, remember we're going to close the competition at 5 o'clock, so we've got a few more hours left. Have a chance of winning that rain gauge. You've got to come to GWV's competitions page, and you have got to email your name and local town or city to GWV@gmail.com, or fill out the contact form. And by doing that, you're going to be placed into the bag, and as I say, somebody will win that rain gauge at 5 to 7 p.m. time. Well, we'll close competition at 5, but the winner will be announced at 7. All runners-up are going to get an official discount with metcheck.co.uk weather instrumentation, which will be valid for the next month, purely for the fact that they've entered this competition. And I'll reveal the official discount code in the winner's video tonight, and we'll also place that on the competitions page as well. So you'll be able to buy whatever product you want with metcheck.co.uk, and you will get an official discount, purely due to the fact that you have been involved in the competition with GWV and with MetCheck too. Remember, we will be closing this competition at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. is when we will not be able to take any more entrants. So I would suggest you get emailing right now if you want to enter the competition. Right, the next steady one today, nearly 40 minutes. Hope you found it interesting and informative. Hope that will give you a little bit of entertainment whilst we're all in lockdown. And yes, the next video will be the winner's video, where we'll be revealing the winner of our competition. Tomorrow we're going to have our historic weather video. It's going to be episode 2 of the Frozen 40s trilogy, looking at the winter of 1940-1941. I've already recorded it. It's a bit of an epic. I think it'll be an entertaining watch, and that will be released at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning at GWV. For GWV Sunday Roundup, enjoy the rest of your Easter Sunday, and that's all for now. Thanks for watching.